Valendo, esse pessoal, AHORHARD, com mais um quadro, entrevistas EAD. Então a galera pediu durante alguns anos, a gente refutou, que a gente gosta mais de ajuda das bandas, trocar uma ideia, mas no período que a gente está vivendo, nos força a experimentar coisas novas. Então, fique agora com mais uma entrevista, AHORHARD EAD.
Hola, I'm Willem from Intellectual, a Dutch punk rock band, and I'm doing an interview for AHORHARD punk hardcore scene from Brazil, if I'm correct. And thanks for having me. These are weird days with Corona. I'd love to do this with the rest of the band, but unfortunately we cannot get together for stuff like this, like interviews or even rehearse or play shows, of course, just like all the bands out there. I'm Willem, I play guitar and I sing, and I do most of the songwriting, so you get to know us a little bit. I'll talk a bit about our band, what we've come from, what we've done in the past, and what we're up to these days. We started in 2005, pretty much being a more serious band. We released our first full-length album that year, and we did our first tour to support that album. We did a European tour, and I think that's the year we got a bit more serious about doing what we do, and we started traveling, we started recording our music seriously, and I think 2005 was the breaking point between, being just a band for fun and starting to taking things seriously and seeing what we can do with our band, where we could travel, what kind of music we could record, and what we could, present to others listening to our music. We all grew up on skate punk, on melodic punk rock, if you like. We grew up on the music coming from California, Pennywise, the Fat Wreck, Epitaph sound, No Effects, No Use for a Name, bands like that. The standard, without meaning that in a bad way, the standard skate punk and punk rock sound. Also brought over here by a lot of European bands, a lot of Swedish bands like Melancholy, Satanic Surfers, No Fun at All, bands like that. Those were huge influences on us, and those really, especially when we started, or at least when I started listening to music, presented something really new, something that mainstream media did not show us. So it was a new sound to us that we really liked, and that we wanted to create ourselves as well. So we started a band, and we thought, let's cover some music that we grew up on, that we listen to a lot these days in early 2000s, and let's start our own band trying to recreate that music. And that's our skate punk rock background. Later on, we really enjoyed the emo wave that started in the 2000s. You could say like the 90s were the skate punk era that really influenced us as kids growing up, and then the emo era started around 2000s, and that really, bands like Jimmy Eat World, Get Up Kids, stuff like that, a bit more, maybe a bit slower, a bit more melodic. Those bands really created great records, and there was a great scene for that, and that really taught us a different side of the punk rock genre, and inspired us to incorporate that in our sound as well. And a couple of years later, you could say the 10s, maybe, I don't know if it's that strict, but it feels like it's a bit later. Bands like Hot Water Music, Ladderman, more the fest sound, or gruff punk, or orchcore, whatever you want to call it, that also influenced us as musicians, as a band, as a way we wanted to sound, and a scene that we felt attracted to, and that we wanted to be a part of, or at least the bands that we really liked. So that's how our sound and our influences came together and defined the way we create and play music. Said we started recording music in 2005 with our first full-length album, Silence and Civilization. It was the first time we went to a serious studio with a producer, someone that knew how to create a sound. It was a Menno Bakker, who also recorded bands, Dutch bands mostly, like NRA, Undeclinable Ambuscade, Bombix, the bigger skate punk or punk rock bands from the 90s that we all listened to a lot. And we thought, well, if we could record with him in that studio, that would be terrific for us. So that's what we did, and that's how our first album came to existence. For our second album, Testimony, in 2008, we locked ourselves into a German studio that we rented with our friend Nico van Montfort, and he recorded our album. It was a very impressive and how do you say that, intense experience, because we locked ourselves in the studio for 10 days. We had to record 10 songs in 10 days, and we couldn't do anything after that because that was the only time that we could be in the studio. So we worked our asses off there. We were in quarantine, if you would like to say that, and we wanted to produce a loud, a heavy album, and that's what Testimony turned out to be. Our third album, Start From Scratch, came out in 2010, if I'm correct, and also recorded with Nico. It's a bit more melodic, I think. It's also because we changed a lineup, and we got Tom on bass, and he sang a lot on that album. And I think Start From Scratch is an album that a lot of people outside of the Netherlands got to know us through. It was an album that made us go and tour a lot of all over Europe, and that I think a lot of people know us through that album. In 2013 we released Perspectives and Objectives, and I think that's an album that, if I can say that, it got us known a bit outside of Europe as well, which was amazing. And we got to tour. I think we toured Brazil that year for the first time, which was amazing. We got to do a US tour, and it was a couple of years before that, but we also went to Russia. It was a time that we got to tour not only Europe but outside of that as well. In 2016 we released our latest full-length album. It's called Engage. We recorded that with Split Second Sound Studios, which was a first change after recording with Nico for 3 albums, and it was a great experience being at a very professional or a well-known studio in Amsterdam that had done a lot of metal productions, but also a lot of pop stuff. So there were really a wide range of music productions came from that, and they really did a great job helping us out with that record, recording it, but also pre-producing it, thinking about how we wanted to sound, how we wanted to record, making arrangements for all the parts. And that ended up being our 2016 release, Engage, which I think also is an album that got us a lot of attention, or is maybe the first album that some people heard from us, or at least we got a lot of feedback from all over the world, in other places, Canada and South America, Japan as well, people hearing about that album. So it's an important one for us as well. After Engage, our full-length album, we stopped releasing albums and we started releasing individual singles. I think the first one came out in 2018, and we've been doing that up to now. Actually, we've released 5, if I'm correct. We're releasing an EP filled with 4 cover songs of proto-punk, classic punk, mod punk, whatever you want to call it. 4 songs from the 70s and 80s, and it will be a vinyl physical release. It will come out on May 12th, and it's 4 songs covered by The Police, Blondie, The Nerves, The Stooges, and Ramones. And if you like these bands, or if you like us, it might be interesting to check it out. And other than that, we'll be working on new single releases as well. And because of Corona, our plans have been changed. That's the simplest way of saying that. And we're not sure what we're going to do in 2021, but there's new music coming out, that's for sure. And whether it will be singles or something else, we're not sure yet. We can't tell yet, but you'll find out if you follow us on social media, our website and stuff like that. And we've also, next to our LPs and singles in the last couple of years, we've also released some EPs. We did an acoustic EP, not sure what year it was, maybe 2009 I believe, but I think in between all the LPs we always did 7-inch EP in between, just to keep it mixed and interesting for everyone. And you can find all these on Bandcamp, on Spotify, on YouTube, all the usual suspects. I think that's it. I'm just answering the questions I got from AHORHARD in like making it into a little story instead of talk briefly about this and that. I think that was more or less what they wanted us to talk about. Thank you very much for having me for this little interview. Thanks to AHORHARD for having me. Thanks to you for watching this. Thanks to everyone in South America that's been paying attention to us ever since we started touring there and releasing our music. It means the world to us. I know you're very active on social media, and we get a lot of response from Brazil, from Argentina, Costa Rica, all the whole continent actually, and we're very, very glad when people reach out to send us a message. So thank you very much for the interview. Thank you for the attention from the people. We hope to come back to South America, but first we all have to survive this coronavirus. But make sure to stay safe, stay sane, and stay healthy. And hope to see you after this one. So thanks for having me. I'm Willem from Antillectual. Bye bye.